For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of USC's fourth practice of fall camp. The biggest news to come out of today, Porter Gustin got tangled up in a play. He tried to walk it off but had to get helped off the field, and then was getting his left knee examined and thus was carted off the field. So Helton says they're going to wait till he gets an MRI tonight and reevaluate him, but by all means it was not positive news for Porter Gustin today.
No, and it was a day where Cam Smith started the day on the sideline. So here you are, what, a week and a half later, the two guys you had, I guess it's actually not quite 2 weeks later, the two guys that were at the Pac-12 Media Day for your defense on the defensive day today, neither one of them is available. And neither one of them is able to, if a player gets hurt, you're obviously not going to be able to talk to him. If he's hurt going into practice, doesn't practice, you're not going to be able to talk to him. So Porter and Cam were not available today. So, if you're like Clay, I asked Clay, I said, as a coach, you got to work on getting yourself upbeat when you have those two guys who mean so much to this team, this program, not just as players, but as, leaders, and they're not available. So it was a little bit of a downer, to say the least.
Yeah. Helton said that the trainer said Porter Gustin's knee felt stable, but it did feel a little funny, no pain, so we're definitely going to have to wait on that. But you kind of have to ask yourself, Helton has been saying physicality. We've been saying physicality for years now, but is this the price to pay for physicality?
I don't know. I mean, it's almost kind of, it looked like at the end of a play. I mean, they weren't tackling people, they accidentally tackled people to the ground, but it wasn't full pads. It's the way you have to practice. Yeah. You can't, it's football. So I think, making that connection, is not correct. Obviously, Porter got hurt a couple of times last year when they weren't practicing like this. So, I like the way they're practicing. I think, the defense needs to practice this way. The offense needs to practice against the defense that's practicing this way. And I don't think you can ever look at it and say, boy, if we'd tiptoed around out there, he maybe, wouldn't have done that. He might have done it anyway. It didn't. Excuse me. Little breezy here and dusty. But I just don't think you can look at it that way. And nobody should. I'm sure somebody will, but nobody should.
Mm-hmm. It was an up-and-down day for USC's offense today. They had trouble scoring in the red zone and had Matt Fink and Jack Sears had individual picks themselves, but they did get the ball moving at times. You asked Clay Helton, is it hard to get a flow going when you have three quarterbacks getting reps and multiple reps and not really getting a flow? What do you have to say to that?
He said he thought it would have been harder if they just go one rep one way. Yeah, obviously. They were going to, at times they just got 2 or 3. I think it was harder. I don't think that was necessarily the purpose today. It looked like they kind of just said, we'll get through this. This isn't, the purpose of, of today. But I'm sure they did not anticipate going 0 for 16 in the red zone with the only score, a 95-yard pick 6 by Iman Marshall. That's probably not how you envision whoever you've got out there, however much they're in a flow or not. You ought to be able to get. I mean, JT Daniels, I think, got the ball down to very close to the goal line to Tyler Petit. But other than that, they just didn't even sniff the goal line. This was a day where JT kind of went to the third spot. So in the rotation, Matt Fink was going first and Jack Sears second, and they didn't always have time. Like when they first series, when they do the hurry up stuff, they didn't even have time for JT, which is the second time, that the horns sound before he even gets the ball. So he was kind of relegated a little bit. I think Matt Fink had a kind of a tough day today. Jack Sears did some things well, and then did some things like on the interception. He had a receiver deep. Ball didn't quite get there soon enough. Greg Johnson is tracking it down, and he or the other defender, probably either one of them could have intercepted it. So there was some progress and not progress for the quarterbacks today. This wasn't quarterback day.
Yeah.
Offensive line, I thought, was aggressive and came after it, and they did run the ball inside. He ran it outside. Not a lot of success. I think I think we saw Stephen Carr on a sweep that looked pretty impressive. Marquis step, not always against the first team, but he is a big dude, and at 230, and he's running the ball well. So we saw some of that, and we did see some, real, it looked like football, even without full pads. So I think they're getting, into the swing of things, and I know the defensive people, especially like Keely Eure, is really happy with the way his guys up front are going. The secondary coaches are kind of, we like some of the things they're doing, and some of the things not necessarily. And then with the linebackers, I think just having Porter and Cam out today kind of puts a little bit of a paw on where the linebackers were today.
Yeah, but going back to the offense real quick, I know you asked Helton and some of the other offensive coaches. They're quick to point out that these are young quarterbacks and there will be growing pains. But at what point do you get concerned that this offense is not going to be ready in time without a true quarterback?
Well, I think it's going to be tough to keep playing three quarterbacks. I really do. I don't know that you've got enough time to get three quarterbacks ready today. Obviously, three quarterbacks weren't ready today. I know they're trying to be really fair and give them, as equal a shot as you can, although, again, they're not running the same plays against the same defenses. So how that works, it's more art than science, I would think, at this point. I think you probably fairly soon have to make a decision. Who do we have enough time to really get ready for, it's not like you don't have Stanford and Texas staring at you in weeks 2 and 3. So I think you've got to be ready in week 1 so you get through week 1 ready for weeks 2 and 3. And I don't know how much longer you can go with three quarterbacks. I'm just not sure.
Yeah, Helton was asked about it. He said that there's not, he wouldn't break it down to two quarterbacks yet, but he says it could be a possibility that he could do that. But it was a defensive day today, which means we get to talk to defensive players and coaches. You mentioned it already, but you got to talk to defensive line coach Keely Eure. Seemed like it was a fruitful conversation. What do you have to say?
Yeah, he really likes his three second-year guys, and was going on about how because of their different temperaments and skill sets and physical abilities and all that you could see a situation where you would have Jay Tufele and Marlon Tuipulotu and Brandon Peely all on the field at the same time, which he did have some today. And thinking how much fun that would be for him. And you talked about Brandon, unbelievable athlete for a guy his size, how Marlon is a guy who does everything right. He came out here after, being out with back surgery and is ready to go from day one and just does it exactly the way he's supposed to. And then he talked about Jay, and he said, Jay's our bully. He's the guy who, when he gets his hands on you, he decides how the play is going to go. And he said that's a really good combination to have those three guys that said they could be as good as they want to be. So very upbeat assessment. And he likes Caleb Tremblay, who's got that quick twitch, the junior college kid who came here in the spring, that said Liam Jimmons is doing as well as anybody, and he's having a very good camp. But Christian Rector talked about his ability to play. He's a utility guy, can play any position. He's got the kind of body and the kind of talent that gives you a lot of flexibility. Very upbeat assessment from Keely about the D-line guys.
Mm-hmm. Isaiah Langley had an up-and-down day today. He started off with a blown assignment and got pulled out, and coaches kind of got pretty mad at him. But he was able to turn it around and had multiple pass breakups, so he was able to bounce back from that unfortunate start. But when you ask coaches about it, they kind of mentioned a roller coaster, and they want to see more consistency from a guy like Isaiah Langley.
Yeah, we heard that roller coaster analogy a couple of times, in terms of the cornerbacks, and even the safeties. Opposite, I mean, they're very pleased with the veterans. Eamon Marshall, who got a big time pick six. Very pleased with Marvell Tell. Not sure who's going next to him. They gave Isaiah Palomalu the chance today, and he looked good, I guess, in walkthrough. Wasn't as good, or wasn't as pleasing to them during the actual afternoon. They're saying, well, you're probably looking at a couple of guys that are going to play there. And then Jenny Harris is the guy who does everything right, 2.5-year starter, and that they just trust him, and he's good influence on the young kids. But they were not going to be overjoyed by some of those pass breakups that Isaiah Langley made, just because they really want to see consistency, and not just from him, from everybody. I mean, one of the guys I really have liked is Greg Johnson, and he could not have played the interception any better. But when you talk to Greg, he said, "I've got to get more consistent. I've got to, he didn't get to play last year with the broken collarbone," and he said, "I'm learning. I'm trying to learn." But that's the big emphasis, is getting guys that they can trust to be where they're supposed to be every time they're supposed to be there. And they're not there yet, although, again, they came away from today feeling pretty good about themselves, as they should have. That was a really strong finish.
Mm-hmm. Another bit of news to come out of practice today, Helton announced that Bernard Shermer is a JUCO O-line transfer that will be eligible to play this season for USC. He has a little bit of a past. He was in JUCO. He was going to hit his helmet, and then it ended up looking like he hit a ref. He was ejected, and then all these things happened, but he was cleared of the charges. So Helton said that they vetted him a lot, but they decided to bring him on board. But he's an immediate impact for USC.
I think it really helps that they've gotten to know his family. He's a good student, and his sister's here as a volleyball player. Yeah. So I think that all went together. He's going to have 3 years to play 3. So he's essentially a redshirt sophomore, and he'll be out. He signed a financial aid agreement today. We didn't get exactly what day he's going to hit the field, but he's going to be here. And
he's actually been watching the practices.
He is a big kid.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a really big kid. So it'd be interesting. It can't hurt. I mean, that's great. If when you looked at the video of that game, it would have been kind of a shame if that stuck with him. That incident stuck with him. It certainly didn't look intentional to me.
Yeah.
And accidents are accidents, and you got a guy that big and you got a much smaller official. Things can look bad that really weren't bad, or you're trying to, hit yourself in the helmet, and you end up, making connect somewhere else. So I'm glad Clay said they took 3 months to look into it, and this is what they've decided.
Mm-hmm. As far as the injury front, besides Cam Smith and Porter Gustin, Levi Jones was out today because he has internal swelling in his chest. Helton said that doctors ruled out coronary issues, but they want to keep him out until that swelling goes down. Chuma Adogo wasn't, he was pulled today, and Clayton Bradley actually filled in for him at that right tackle spot.
Yeah, Chuma basically didn't get a start. I'd say that hurts today too. So you've got some adjustment on the offensive line. He was on the table, right away. So I think the combination of things just wasn't working in favor of the offense, and the defense, I think, knew this is our chance to really to do something, and they did. And I think it'll be, for example, tomorrow, I think they're going to let the quarterbacks, they're going to play like a mini scrimmage. And
in full pads tomorrow.
Yeah, full pads. And they're going to let maybe the coordinators do a little bit of, offense coordinator against defense coordinator, and let them maybe have a whole series or, a number of plays together. And we'll see how that goes. And then scrimmage Saturday. And Clay said, this is really, those 2 days, I think, Wednesday, Saturday, really going to be important for these quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And we'll see. I think once you get through this week, it'll be interesting to see what that tells them going forward.
Yeah. All right, that's going to wrap it up for Tuesday's fall camp practice. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.